Take-Two boss, Strauss Zelnick says his company is already well over 90% digitally distributed, and asks why an already connected customer should care whether the game arrives through a download. Better, Rockstar confirms, the boxed Grand Theft Auto VR release contains a download code instead of a disc. Suddenly, convenience has produced the cardboard email. Crucially, GTA 6 matters because if one of gaming's biggest launches can sell a physical box without a physical game and still print money, every publisher with a spreadsheet gets a very interesting lesson. Naturally, the defense is obvious because gamers helped build this future. Players spent years buying downloads, preloading games, chasing digital sales, and treating retail stores like archaeological sites. To be fair, publishers did not drag everyone into digital gaming at gunpoint. Yet, convenience and control are different questions, which is where this cheerful little argument starts wobbling. According to Rockstar, boxed buyers can redeem the code before launch and preload the game just like everyone else. From a practical standpoint, that makes perfect sense. Physically, it is also ridiculous if your definition of a physical copy includes the game being physically present. Picture the customer, because he is the main character here. First, he buys a console with a disk drive because choice sounds useful. Next, he visits a retailer and buys a boxed copy because maybe he likes shelves, lending games, trading them, or actually possessing something tangible. Then he opens the case and receives instructions to do exactly what the digital buyer did from the sofa. Somehow, the box has become merchandise for the download. Rockstar still gets shelf presence, the customer still gets packaging, and the disc has vanished, with remarkable corporate efficiency. Perhaps that sounds harmless if you already buy everything digitally anyway. Before we continue, apparently the algorithm requires its ritual sacrifice, so like the video, subscribe to the channel and support the operation. If you enjoy watching expensive corporate logic get examined under cheap lighting. Blame YouTube, the machine requires tribute. Anyway, back to our physical edition that contains everything except the physical game. However, once a one-use code replaces transferable media, lending, trading, reselling, and preserving that copy become completely different propositions. Essentially, the argument has shifted from whether downloads are convenient to whether convenience should quietly erase every alternative. Zelnick's point deserves more credit than the angry headline gives it, because he did not literally say physical gamers are idiots, or that discs must disappear tomorrow. Specifically, he argued that Take-Two's business is already overwhelmingly digital, that connected customers often register online anyway, and that downloading can therefore be the more sensible route. Plenty of customers agree with him, because their buying habits already prove it. Indeed, pretending digital distribution is some failed experiment would be nonsense. Look at the phrase everyone is fighting over, who cares if you download digitally? Clearly, plenty of people do not care, and that is exactly why the more interesting question gets buried underneath the headline. Practically, the people who still care about discs are not arguing that inserting plastic into a console is a sacred ritual passed down by Viking elders. Nobody needs monks protecting a PlayStation case under candlelight. Ownership changes the argument, because a traditional disc can generally move between people, while a redeemed download code cannot. Resale becomes harder for the buyer, lending becomes harder for the friend, and collecting becomes a shelf full of packaging, whose important ingredient was consumed once. In other words, the industry has preserved the box, while deleting half the reasons some customers wanted the box. Imagine buying a Blu-ray, opening it, and discovering a code that activates the movie on an account before turning the case into decorative archaeology. Apparently, that now qualifies as physical because cardboard remains undefeated. Worse, Rockstar has chosen the funniest possible game to test this with. Arguably, GTA 6 has enough cultural gravity to make customers tolerate almost anything standing between themselves and launch day. Millions will buy the game regardless, which means the final sales number cannot tell you whether those buyers approved of code-in-box distribution. Instead, those numbers can easily be presented as evidence that customers accepted it. Corporate logic then performs its favorite magic trick. Success gets credited to every decision attached to the successful product. Soon, somebody in another boardroom can point at GTA 6 and say customers clearly embrace disc-free retail boxes, while quietly ignoring the small detail that customers mostly embraced GTA 6. Here is the simple version of the villain. Digital gaming is not the problem. The problem is the assumption that because most people stopped using an option, nobody deserves to keep it. Functionally, the software arrives through the same network as the normal digital copy. Consequently, the case becomes less of a game container and more of a promotional accessory, holding an activation key. Calling it a physical version is technically understandable, because you physically receive an object. Describing it as a physical copy of the game is where the English language starts reaching for legal representation. But here is the part publishers probably do not hate. Traditional copies can enter the used market after the first customer is finished with them. Second-hand buyers can purchase those copies without creating another full-price sale for the publisher. Redeemed codes, by contrast, are exceptionally bad at climbing out of somebody's account and becoming fresh retail products again. Importantly, that does not prove Take-Two chose this format specifically to destroy used sales, because the company has not said that. Economically, though, the difference exists, whether executives mention it or not. Buy the disc, finish the game, lend it, trade it, or sell it. Redeem the code, finish the game, and congratulations, your cardboard box has entered a very stable retirement plan. Cue the vinyl comparison. Elsewhere, Zelnick has suggested physical editions may still appear occasionally, comparing them to vinyl, surviving inside a mostly digital music business. Ironically, that does not exactly reassure people who want ordinary physical games rather than premium nostalgia objects. Turning discs into occasional collector products would simply move physical ownership from normal purchasing option to enthusiast luxury. Maybe that is where the market goes. Still, a shrinking market is not the same thing as a worthless choice. Across gaming, customers enjoy instant purchases, preloads, remote installs, and not storing plastic towers beside the television. Convenience becomes irritating only when somebody pretends it answers every question about access, control, resale, and preservation. More importantly, blaming Take-Two alone would be lazy. Buyers trained the industry to expect this future. Collectively, gamers spent years voting for digital with their wallets because it was fast, easy, frequently discounted, and available without putting on trousers. Years later, executives checked the numbers and discovered customers kept buying the thing customers kept buying. Congratulations everyone, democracy has produced downloadable government. Predictably, physical buyers think a box with no disc defeats the point, while plenty of digital buyers shrug because nothing has changed for them. That indifference is precisely why physical customers are losing leverage. Finally, here is where GTA 6 becomes much bigger than one stupid box. A GTA 6 is not merely another release participating in a digital trend. If this game sells on the scale everyone expects, while its retail box contains no disc, other publishers do not need proof that customers love the format. Spreadsheet logic only needs one giant number beside one successful distribution model. Executives can say, physical media clearly mattered less than everyone claimed. Demand for GTA 6 can end up answering a question customers were never separately asked. Now we reach the part that actually matters. This is not about whether one box contains one disc. Rather, it is about what the largest game launch in the industry can normalize for every smaller publisher watching from the sidelines. Strip away the jokes though, and this is where Take-Two's argument becomes annoyingly reasonable. Strauss is not pretending physical sales dominate his business, and the enormous digital share makes the company's direction understandable. Likewise, preloading is useful, digital libraries are convenient, and fewer manufacturing steps can make distribution simpler. Regrettably, practical does not automatically mean consumer-friendly in every dimension. Efficiency can help the buyer, while also helping the seller tighten control over distribution. So, where does that leave us? Effectively, Rockstar has created a physical product, whose essential software arrives through a one-use digital code. Therein lies the comedy. We preserved the plastic case, while removing the feature that made the plastic case useful after purchase. Fundamentally, digital distribution is not the villain. Downloads won because downloads are useful. Actually, the villain is the logic that says because most customers chose convenience, every remaining advantage of physical ownership can now be treated as unnecessary baggage. Most players may prefer digital, but that does not make resale lending, preservation, weak internet access, or permanent access imaginary concerns. Obviously, Take-Two can follow the money. Surely, Rockstar can distribute GTA 6 however it wants. Claiming that the box proves physical gaming remains healthy would be like selling an empty pint glass and congratulating yourself for preserving pubs. Yes, the container survived. Shame about the beer. Even then, publishers are only half the joke. Companies will naturally keep pushing toward whatever model creates the least friction for them and the most reliable control over distribution. Gamers, meanwhile, will keep choosing whatever is fastest and easiest until the alternative becomes too small to matter. Therefore, GTA 6 becomes the perfect test case, because demand is so enormous that the product can overpower objections to the format. Success may be interpreted as approval of code in box, even if millions of buyers simply wanted the game badly enough to tolerate it. Personally, I see an industry preparing to learn exactly the lesson that benefits it most. Afterward, somebody will say customers chose this future. Technically, they will be right. Emotionally, it will feel a bit like identifying the thief while holding the receipt. Thus, publishers do not actually need to kill physical games themselves. Consumers can make physical ownership increasingly irrelevant through their buying habits, while companies simply remove whatever remains once the numbers make the decision easy. Reality is much colder than a conspiracy because nobody needs a secret meeting, a villainous speech, or a cat sitting on a boardroom table. All it requires is convenience, customer apathy, and a spreadsheet saying the old option no longer matters enough. Ultimately, GTA 6 does not have to kill physical games. Its only job is proving that almost nobody stops buying when the disc disappears. Thanks for watching, and kindly remove yourselves from the premises.